We're here from the FMV archive today with Paul Raschid, and he has done a lot of FMV games, 5 dates, 10 dates, The Complex. This year he released Hello Stranger that he's the writer-director of, and he also does big budget feature films too. I just watched it on Tubi last night, The White Chamber. That was really good. Yes, Shauna McDonald, totally underrated actress. I mean, she's great in The Descent, love her in that. And she's great in this. And Oded Fehr, probably awesome to work with him. Another really great trained actor right there. So tell me a little bit about that. How'd you, that's your first writing and directing one, or?
It was actually my second one, but it was sort of my first one that kind of put me on the map, so to speak. My first one was sort of like very much a first feature, but The White Chamber was the one where it went to loads of film festivals around the world. It got on Netflix. At the time, Shauna won the BAFTA Scotland Best Actress Award, so it kind of was a real jump-off point for me in my career. But no, we worked, the whole cast on that was just, some amazing actors. And, like you mentioned, Shauna was a great honor to work with her. She was one of the best actors I've ever worked with to this day. And Oded as well, and Oded was especially personally for me because The Mummy is one of my favorite films.
Yeah, that's right.
If people ever ask me, and I give a top 3, The Mummy is always there because it was one of those first films I was watching growing up in the 90s that really made me fall in love with cinema. So to get the chance to work with him was a real fanboy kind of moment and a real honor for me. So yeah, it was an amazing. We made that film in 12 days. So
wow.
It was, a few years ago now, but it was it's done so much for my career that I have I hold it with so much fondness in my heart.
Now, did you write that during the Brexit, or was that before Brexit, or?
It was around the time, yeah. So it came out, we filmed it in 2017, which was a year after the Brexit vote had happened. So there was that kind of bubbling under, as well as, other stuff going on. Obviously in the US, there was stuff politically. It was kind of that time where the kind of, obviously now everything feels politicized and crazy in the world we live in now. But it felt like at that time it was kind of the start of kind of where we are now. So it was almost kind of a vision. It's like, how bad can it get?
Yes.
And
I would encourage people to check it out. Like I said, I watched it on Tubi for free, and it was exceptionally good. But let's get in. How'd you get into? You were doing films. How'd you jump into the video game film industry?
Well, so it's great that you've actually mentioned White Chamber, because that's kind of a really natural segue into it. So at the time, I spent all of 2018 when it came out just going to film festivals, making contacts, and then I came to the end of 2018, just figuring out what the next move in my career would be, what the next film I was going to do, that kind of thing. And at the end of 2018, late December 2018 was when Bandersnatch came out on Netflix. So that was sort of, the big, put interactive film, choose an adventure style, getting put on the map in a global way. And then the following month in January, I got in touch with a producer out of Wales called John Guamu and his co-producer Jade Alexander, who they were like, we've seen White Chamber, we really love what you did that. We've got this other project called the Complex, which is a very similar premise, a similar setup, similar kind of scale, but it's interactive. It's a choose an adventure kind of thing. So I was like, okay, I'd never, done anything like that before. And obviously I knew Bandersnatch had come out, but I've always been a casual gamer in my life, and I've always been interested in sort of, non-linear storytelling and fragmented timelines. Even White Chamber is a non-linear story. It starts at the end and then goes back and then goes back again. So, my mind was always kind of geared towards that. So I was like, yeah, okay, why not? I'm sure I could figure this out. And I think I watched some of the previous Wales Interactive titles like Late Shift. But I think the thing was there wasn't that much out there.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
Obviously there was stuff in the 90s, but there was no real, if you're writing a normal screenplay, there's books over for decades that have been written that, and there's all these hundreds of thousands of screenplays that have been written. But with interactive, there's no real rubric, right? So it's really exciting because I was kind of like, okay, I can kind of write this and build this in a way that kind of works for me, which is a really unique. So being there in kind of the start of this FMV renaissance that we're going through.
Yeah.
It was a really exciting challenge and something that I really loved. So that was, it was just kind of completely by happenstance. But again, White Chamber played a big part, and obviously, John Guillermo, Jade Alexander, Wales Interactive, they all believed in me and gave me the chance, and I kind of never looked back after that.
Awesome. Now, your first couple movies, White Chamber, Unhallowed Ground, horror movies, the horror genre right there. Then you do the Complex, was just kind of like, I guess you could say a little bit of horror action. Then you do 5 Dates and 10 Dates, which are completely not horror and not act. These are dating simulation games.
Yeah.
How did you go from the horror genre, the action genre, and go into 5 and then 10 Dates?
It was just kind of, it's just because I like all genres. I think that was, I have always loved the rom-com genre. I watch everything, from kitchen sink dramas to horror films to action to rom-com to reality TV to anime to you name it, I kind of watch it. So I've always, and especially with interactive, I was really, I still am really keen to explore how different genres fit into the format, because I do believe every single genre can work as an interactive, as an FMV. So for me, it was just kind of the next step in that evolution, and I think at the time it was also the pandemic at the time, so we couldn't really go out, and I always kind of thought the premise of dating it worked well in terms of choosing your own adventure, because what is a date but this series of loads of mini little decisions you're making in your head about what do I say? Have I said the right thing? Should I do that? Do they like me? That kind of thing. So for me, it was something that I wanted to make beforehand anyway. And then even during the pandemic, when people were doing video dates on the apps and everything, so I was just like, it's actually an easy. It kind of fits in the time that we're doing it, just to do it as video dating. So yeah, that's how 5 Dates came about. And then it resonated with people enough that we could make a sequel, and then 10 Dates was sort of the in real life version that I wanted to make originally.
Now, one of the things I like about 5 Dates and 10 Dates, I've played a lot of the dating simulation games. It's more of a romantic comedy and less of, like, let's just stare at women for 4 or 5 hours here. There's an actual storyline that happens in these games here. Yeah. So was that a decision by you or the producer of the game, or how did that come about to actually focus on the story more than just, staring at people, what I like to call it?
Well, that was kind of always the goal for me. That's always how I saw it. I don't even think there was a conversation about doing it from first-person perspective. Like I wanted, Vinny, because I'm a guy. I know it from the guy's side, and I know, you've got your buddies who you always have debriefs with, and so that interplay is a huge part of the experience of dating as well. What you're experiencing on your side, and speculating about how it went with your friends and kind of trying to figure out stuff about the person, about if they like you or not. So that was always something I wanted to include in the experience. And I think at the time anyway, there hadn't been, not that I'd seen at least, many rom-com dating sims anyway that were out there. Aside from maybe like something like Super Seducer or something like that. But there wasn't anything. The kind of new wave of dating sims that we're seeing now, which are the sort of first-person things, weren't really around then. So it was never kind of on my radar to make something like that.
Okay, good.
It's not to my taste, I guess.
No, and I think it works out better the way that 5 and 10 Dates plays out than, like you said, the POV, just me staring at beautiful women and not really interacting with them, more or less, just having different scenarios pop out that get more and more ridiculous as it goes on. Hello Stranger, the one you released this year, 2025. Was that written by you previously as a movie script, or was this written specifically for the gaming experience?
No, it was written specifically for the gaming experience, and it was kind of my most ambitious structurally. It was one which I'd done up until I did the Complex, I did 5 Dates, I did 10 Dates at the Gallery, and I did another one, a short sort of demo called Death Trap Dungeon: The Golden Room, which is also on Steam, free to play. So I'd done a lot of the ones which, you know, and a few of them dabbled in the more gamified mechanics, but never I wanted to go I wanted to really see how far we could push that in terms of, you know, really gamifying it, but also interweaving the gamification into the storyline in a really naturalistic way that felt cohesive and part of the story. So, you know, as you saw, it is about, you know, this character playing these games, and even the structure of it is very extreme in the sense of you need to replay it to get all the endings, to get the full picture of what's going on, of who Cam is, who all these other characters are, because all the characters pretty much don't present as exactly who they are, and you have to play and get to all the respective endings to really find out who they are, to figure out, to find the bigger picture, the themes that are going on in their entirety. So
yeah, the replay value on that game is amazing. The first two times I played it, I kind of got where the lead is more of a sympathetic type character. Then the more times you play it, you're like, holy shit, this guy's like a complete asshole, you know? He's really sadistic. Like, it definitely changes through. That's one of the other things I wanted to ask you about. When you're casting the roles for these people in the Choose Your Own Adventures, they are really chameleon-like actors. Are you looking for something different when you're casting for Choose Your Own Adventure as opposed to feature films when you're looking to hire people for that?
I think so, and just generally, as I found that, you know, it's because the retention of knowledge that you have to have in terms of, you know, in terms of dialogue, in terms of the branching narrative, in terms of knowing where you are, in terms of being able to remain consistent and have a performance level that can, or a performance place that can go to various different directions and feel real, that you could go in those dramatic different directions. It's definitely something, especially I look for theatre training quite carefully, because actors who are, you know, used to retaining all those lines and being able to think on their feet in terms of being on stage every night in case something goes wrong and improv their way around a problem, that generally helps. So this is why, you know, the actor George Blagden, who was in The Gallery, Hello Stranger, and in my upcoming From the Run, interactive From the Run as well, he's like, you know, he's got such an incredible mind for them that generally when I find people that I enjoy working with in this genre especially, this format especially, I tend to try and stick with them. But yeah, I've definitely now been able to see the actors that kind of really excel in this format, and really be able to hone in on every casting process.
Awesome. Now you mentioned The Run, and I was looking at that, and I was looking at the IMDb page for that, and I'm going down the actors, and then I see Dario Argento as a priest. How the hell did you get, you know, the Bird with the Crystal Plumage is, I think, the best Giallo movie ever. I love that. I think it's fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. How did you get 85-year-old Dario Argento involved in this?
I mean, I'm out in Italy at the moment shooting with the same producers who did The Run. I mean, this is a linear film. It's my first linear film since White Chamber. But, you know, they're partly based in Italy, and you know, we were making this film, and you know, we were shooting it up in the north of Italy, and just we had all these characters who we were like, it would be great to get, these characters are Italian. It would be great to try and get, you know, some really iconic Italian local talent to be in it, and you know, we got a list from the casting director, and Dario was on the list, and I was like, yeah, please,
absolutely,
please just see if Dario would be up for it, because it didn't even occur to me it was an idea from the team. And I was like, yeah, I mean, you know, why not? He's, you know, if there's anyone who's going to go for a crazy horror thriller interactive choose your own adventure thing where the character can die 20 different ways, it's gonna be him. And you know, they did, and he went for it, and the next thing I know, he's on set, and I'm directing. You know, we had a dinner beforehand, and I, you know, picked his brains and fanboyed a bit, and then you know, I'm on set directing Dario Argento, which was just, you know, one of the biggest honors of my life for sure.
No, that would have to be. Argento is one of those people, like when you see his movies, like Fulci as well, they have a feel to it. Like, you know, you're watching an Argento movie, you know you're watching a Fulci movie. They definitely have a feel for it. So that's awesome. I'm looking forward to that. Do you think that's going to be 2025, 2026?
It's hopefully still on course for this year. Hopefully there's going to be some news on its release very soon.
Cool.
But yeah, that will hopefully be coming very soon this year.
When you're sitting down here and you're, thinking about which video game, you're going to work at first, where do you get your inspiration from? Is it more from the, here I've got this script that I couldn't get produced and I love this, maybe I can tweak some things, or you go on just like right in, like here's a video game and here's some branching narratives that I'd like to test out and see what works?
It's a bit of both. I mean, I like to there have been examples of scripts which were linear ones, which I was like, actually, if I could branch those out a bit, there's a really good interactive structure there. Other times, like 5 Dates, it's the genre. It's a genre I want to explore. Or in the case of Hello Stranger, it was just mechanics I wanted to explore. So the inspiration can come from anywhere. It genuinely is project by project. But I think especially after Hello Stranger, and I guess the run is mechanically. Yeah, I had a chance to explore fail states in a really deep way. So there are 20 different ways the character can die, which I really liked. Again, Hello Stranger, I also explored that, but the run kind of pushes it even further.
Awesome.
So I think those were very much mechanically driven. So that's kind of my more recent projects. It's trying to just push the envelope with the format as much as possible, because what I love about your reviews is you do categorize. You're like, okay, this is a more choose your own adventure one. This is a more FMV game. This is more of a interactive film. And I think that all of those are valid within the gamut, right? But I want to explore everything along that spectrum as much as I can.
Awesome. Now, a lot of the things that you're working with, like Hello Stranger, even The Chamber, you're dealing with the theme of being trapped. You're in one spot like that. If you have an unlimited budget, you can go to any set, you can do anything. What movie are you making with that unlimited budget?
Well, it's something. So I guess with the run, we work with the beauty production company. I was allowed to expand the story out. It's pretty much all exterior, like 80% exteriors. This character's it's perpetual movement because she's always on the run, going through the Italian mountains. So that was like a real departure visually from sort of the more contained, which would indie budgets. That also feeds into it. So if unlimited, it's definitely something international. I want to do something which is set across numerous different countries, regardless of genre. I think, and I think that I can't say much about the film I'm making at the moment. What really I do love the idea of culture clash. Again, regardless of genre, whether that is in an action film or a thriller film or a comedy film. I love the idea of fish out of water characters from a different culture deposited into another culture and all the chaos that ensues. So it would probably be something, an interactive travel comedy, travel thriller, travel horror, something like that of some fish out of the water characters kind of, in a new place would probably be what I want to do.
Awesome. Now, you said you're kind of a casual video game player. What is your video game playing look like? What types of games are you playing when you do play, or that you played when you were younger?
I'm an RPG guy, so I've always been, the Assassin's Creed franchise, Kingdom Hearts, and then obviously there's the AAA classics like your FIFAs, your Call of Duties. Definitely things which, Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, things which are strong RPGs with strong story driven, but also with some great combat mechanics as well. So nothing. I'm absolutely not a hardcore gamer in that sense, but definitely a good casual story driven RPG is definitely what I look for.
Okay, so you've done you said you watch a whole different variety of type of movies, from romantic comedies to horror movies, stuff like that. Favorite all-time movie? Not the best movie, but your favorite all-time movie.
I guess I'd have to say The Mummy. Like, I think if you had to narrow it down, like I said earlier, if I had to name one, it would be The Mummy. I mean, I always put Die Hard up there. I always put Collateral, the Michael Mann film, up there.
Wow, yeah, great.
But yeah, I love that film. But I definitely would probably say that, because I think The Mummy, in the way that so many great 90s films did, it fused so many different genres so effectively in this grand epic adventure film, where you could be scared, you could laugh, you could cry, you could would feel exhilarated. You would, yeah, it kind of, and I'm watching it as a kid growing up. A film that took me on that kind of emotional ride was what made me fall in love with cinema. So yeah, if I was going to say one film, I would probably then have to say The Mummy for sure. Great.
It is a classic. I watched that probably about 5 years ago. Again, I hadn't seen it for a long time, and it still holds up. It is a really great, well written, well acted. Everything just kind of hits all the notes in that one. I've always loved The Mummy too. That's a great one. Now, is there anywhere that where are you most active on? Is it X? Is it Instagram? Where can people follow you to learn about what more of the stuff you have upcoming?
I would say Instagram is probably the best place to keep up to date with me. That's kind of where I post most of my content. So yeah, please do follow me up on Instagram.
Is there you think you're going to be doing the same thing going forward, doing feature films and video games, or do you find yourself kind of leaning towards one for your future projects?
At the moment, it's I'm living my dream by doing what I'm doing, and it's sort of but there's also the case of I just want to keep working and these things. It's a tough place at the moment, both the film and the video game industry. So
definitely.
For me at the moment, I'm just very blessed and happy to be working. So if that is my next project after this is someone wants me to make an FMV game, I'll do it. If someone wants to if it's a feature film, I'll do that as well. So I don't try and plan ahead too much because I just don't think you can at the moment with the way both industries are. So I'm trying to just kind of live in the moment and take it as it comes. But I think I am enjoying sort of being after this. It was 6 years of solid work in the FMV game world since White Chamber basically. So it is nice being able to come back, of all that, how I've grown as a creative and as a person in that time, being able to be back here. So I would like to maybe spend maybe a couple of years at least in the film world again. But again, I'm not. If the FMV game is my next project, then so be it. But I feel like that those 6 years that I've done, all the work that I've done at this point, feels like a really nice phase one. That kind of has come to an end, and then once the run releases, it feels like a good place to kind of take a step back and take stock of kind of what my next step would be in the evolution of the FMV genre. So but again, you never know. You could be seeing me releasing another one next year. It could be 3 years time, who knows? You never know.
Yeah, the one thing I forgot to ask you, how did you get into the film industry? Are you trained? Did you go to university to study for this? Did you work under somebody? How did you actually get into the film world?
Well, it was actually it's in the family, in the sense that my dad, when I was growing up, was a cinema operator. So
okay.
The film Cinema Paradiso, that was kind of my upbringing, going to the cinema, watching loads of films on the big screen, because that was what my dad did, and that was where I kind of fell in love with that. And then in my teenage years, he sort of pivoted and became a really low budget indie film producer. So I grew up spending time on his sets, shadowing him, reading scripts that he'd been sent to kind of learn the format, spending time behind the camera, in front of the camera a little bit, just kind of figuring out, because I knew very early this was the industry I wanted to go into, but my mom was also like, you need to go to university, you need to you need to do the full education thing. So I did English literature with film studies at university, so to kind of it was geared towards that. And then once I came out of university, I set up a production company with my dad, and we made some films together. And then after White Chamber, which was the one we did together, then I kind of started working freelance when other production companies became interested and wanted to hire me. So it was very much, always in my blood, but it was something from just watching cinemas and falling in love with cinema really growing up was kind of how it started, and then just developed from there.
Awesome. So the family business kind of model right there. I love it. That is awesome. Nothing better than, being able to work with your dad. I was able to do that for a short time too. It is a very fulfilling thing, and I'm sure he appreciated it probably 1,000 times more than you did. That is always a fun experience. So that's a good one.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks a lot for coming on, Paul. I really appreciate it. If there's any other games that you have coming up, please let us know. We would love to get it, and we'd love to get our hands on it. If you haven't played 5 Dates, 10 Dates, or Hello Stranger, like I said, Hello Stranger is not one of the better games of this year. It's one of the better FMV games I've ever played. It is really fun. It is interactive. It is done really well. The acting is way better than it should be for an FMV game. It is really good. Hits all the notes. Like, that is definitely one that I am always constantly telling people you should check that one out, because what you were talking about this whole interview, it's like you have video gaming elements in this interactive film. This is very much a game. It is not a film. This is a game that happens to have full motion video as the background for it. So Hello Stranger, definitely worth checking out. Anything else you want to say, Paul, before we take off?
No, Dan, I just wanted to say thank you for your kind words, and the support of Hello Stranger and all my work means a lot. And I think what you do is so important for the community, for the FMV community, to have a content creator who makes stuff as prolifically as you do as well, and is so insightful. And your film background is amazing as well, which I love that you have a film knowledge as well. So,
yes, I'm a film school dropout, so I paid attention to all that stuff at one point there. So always, like you said, it's in the blood.